Now, the agony and mental terror that the Indians faced over the years couldn't be wiped out in a day's time. And when India became independent in August 1947, it faced a series of great challenges. As the aftermath of partition, about 8 million refugees had come into the country from Pakistan. These people had no homes, no jobs, as overnight they were uprooted from their very own homes. Until date, when the survivors talk about the time of partition, one can see the pain in their eyes. Then there were as many as 500 princely states, and each of them was ruled by a Maharaja or a Nawab. Now the new formed government had to pursue each of them to give away their status and join the newly formed nation. Moreover, these problems of the refugees and of the princely states had to be addressed immediately, as in the longer term, the new nation had to adopt a political system that would best serve the hopes and expectations of its population. Now in the year 1947, India had a population of almost 345 million people, and this population was divided. There were divisions in terms of high castes and low castes, in terms of Hindu community, who consists the majority of the population, and the other Indians who practice their respective faiths. Also, the people of this vast land spoke different languages, wore different kinds of clothes, ate different kinds of food, and practiced different professions. So how could they be made to live together under the umbrella of one nation state? In addition to all these problems, yet another challenge that India faced was to ensure development. During the time of independence, the majority of Indians lived in the villages. Farmers and peasants depended on the monsoon for their survival, and so did the non-farm sector of the rural economy, because if the crops failed, barbers, carpenters, weavers and other service groups would not get paid for their services either. Again, in cities, factory workers lived in the crowded slums with little access to education, healthcare or sanitation. So from what we have discussed so far, it is evident that the new nation had to take its masses out of poverty. And for that, the government had to come up with ideas and technology to increase the productivity of agriculture and new job creating industries. Also, unity among its population could only be ensured if there was proper development. Also, it was high time that the divisions between the different sections of India be healed. Otherwise, this could have led to violent and costly conflicts between high castes and low castes, Hindus and Muslims and so on. And along with all these, if the fruits of economic development was not distributed evenly amongst its citizens, then fresh divisions could not be created. For example, between the rich and the poor, between the cities and the countryside, between regions of India that were prosperous and regions that lagged behind. So on one hand, while there was celebration that finally India was independent, and on other hand, there was uncertainty about the future at the same time. Further, within less than 6 months post-independence, the nation was mourning. On the 30th of January 1948, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by the right-wing or RSS follower Nathuram Godse. Godse's reason behind the assassination was that he disagreed with Gandhiji's conviction that Hindus and Muslims should live together in harmony. That evening, a stunned nation heard Jawaharlal Nehru's moving statement over the All India Radio, and I quote, "Friends and comrades, the light has gone out of our lives and there is darkness everywhere. Our beloved leader, the father of the nation, is no more," unquote. After independent India was formed for 3 years between December 1946 and November 1949, around 300 Indian leaders had a series of meetings on the country's political future, and these were the members of the Constituent Assembly. The meetings of this Constituent Assembly were held in New Delhi, but the participants came from all over India and from different political parties. These discussions resulted in the framing of the Constitution of Democratic India, and the Indian Constitution came into effect on the 26th of January 1950. One of the most important features of the Constitution was its adoption of universal adult franchise. Another major point of debate in the Constituent Assembly was that of language. Many members believed that with the British rulers, the English language should also leave India. And many were of the opinion that Hindi should replace it. However, those who did not speak Hindi were of a different opinion. For example, speaking in the assembly, T. Krishnamachari conveyed a warning on behalf of people of the South. And some of the members from the South threatened to separate from India if Hindi was imposed on them. So finally, after much debate, the Constituent Assembly came to the conclusion that Hindi would be the official language of India and English would be used in courts, the service and communication between one state and another. Now, as you can see, many Indians contributed to the framing of the Indian Constitution. But perhaps the most important role was played by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was the chairman of the drafting committee under whose supervision the document was finalized. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, or Baba Sahib as respectfully referred to, belonged to a Marathi-speaking Dalit family. A lawyer and economist himself, he is best known as revered leader of the Dalits and the father of the Indian Constitution. In his final speech to the Constituent Assembly, Dr. Ambedkar pointed out that political democracy had to be accompanied by economic and social democracy. Giving the right to vote would not automatically lead to the removal of other inequalities between rich and poor or between the upper and the lower castes. He was of the opinion that with the new constitution, India was going to enter into a life of contradictions. In politics, we will have equality, and in social and economic life, we will have inequality. In politics, we will be recognizing the principle of one man, one vote, and one value. In our social and economic life, we shall, by reason of our social and economic structure, continue to deny the principle of one man, one value. So far, we know that after independence, it took our leaders almost 3 years to frame the Indian Constitution, to establish equality amidst the vast diversity that the country had. But was this the end of challenges that our new formed democracy had to face? Well, join me in the next video on India after independence to find out what happened next. Until then, you take care. Bye.
Tutormate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on Apple App Store or Google Play Store